Marcus had always dreamed of owning a house where his family could create lasting memories. After 15 years of grinding as a software engineer, saving every penny and making countless sacrifices, he finally had enough for his dream home. The Victorian-style house in Portland's prestigious Laurelhurst neighborhood cost him $2 million, but it was worth every cent. The wraparound porch, original hardwood floors, and sprawling backyard where his two young daughters could play safely made all those years of living in cramped apartments worthwhile. His wife Jennifer had been skeptical about the price, but Marcus convinced her it was an investment in their future. Their daughters, Emma and Sophie, were thrilled about having their own rooms and a backyard big enough for a swing set. The house represented everything Marcus had worked toward: stability, success, and a place where his children could grow up with fond memories. The closing process had been stressful, with last-minute complications that nearly derailed the purchase. Marcus had to liquidate his entire investment portfolio and take out a substantial mortgage, leaving their savings account dangerously low. But when he received those keys, all the stress melted away. This was his American dream realized. Planning the housewarming party became Jennifer's passion project. She spent weeks organizing every detail, from the catered menu to the flower arrangements. They invited close friends, colleagues, and family members, including Marcus's sister Diana. Diana had always been the dramatic one in the family, prone to making everything about herself, but Marcus hoped she would behave appropriately for once. Diana lived across the country in Phoenix with her 4 children, Tyler, Madison, Brianna, and little Jake. She was recently divorced from her second husband and had been struggling financially. Marcus had helped her out occasionally with small loans that were never repaid, but he chalked it up to family obligation. Their parents had always favored Diana, the artistic free spirit, while Marcus was expected to be the responsible one who cleaned up everyone's messes. The day of the housewarming arrived with perfect September weather. Guests began arriving at 2 in the afternoon, and Marcus felt proud showing off the renovated kitchen and the master suite with its stunning city views. His colleagues were impressed, and his neighbors seemed genuinely welcoming. Everything was going exactly as planned. Diana arrived fashionably late, as usual, but without her children. Marcus was relieved, thinking maybe she had decided to leave them with a babysitter for the adult gathering. She greeted everyone with her typical theatrical flair, complimenting the house while making subtle comments about how expensive everything must have been. Marcus noticed her eyeing the rooms with unusual interest, taking mental notes of the layout and asking specific questions about the basement and attic spaces. As the afternoon progressed, guests mingled in the backyard, enjoying the catered barbecue and admiring the landscaping. Marcus felt a deep sense of satisfaction watching his dreams unfold. Jennifer was glowing with happiness, and their daughters were showing off their new playroom to anyone who would listen. For the first time in years, Marcus felt like he could finally breathe easy. The party was in full swing when Diana approached the outdoor sound system and tapped the microphone. The conversations gradually died down as everyone turned their attention toward her. Marcus felt a familiar knot forming in his stomach. Diana's announcements were never good news. "Hi everyone, thank you for coming to celebrate Marcus and Jennifer's beautiful new home," Diana began with her biggest smile. "I have some wonderful news to share with all of you today." Marcus exchanged worried glances with Jennifer, who had gone pale beside him. "As you all know, I've been going through a difficult time lately with my divorce and everything," Diana continued, her voice carrying that practiced victim tone Marcus knew so well. "But my amazing brother Marcus has offered to help me and my 4 children get back on our feet by letting us move in here temporarily." The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus felt like he'd been punched in the gut. He had never made such an offer, never even discussed anything remotely close to this arrangement. His mind raced as he tried to process what Diana had just announced to 30 of their closest friends and family members. "Diana, what are you talking about?" Marcus managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. But Diana plowed ahead, seemingly oblivious to his shock. "The kids and I will be driving up from Phoenix next week with a moving truck. Tyler and Jake can share the basement guest room, and the girls can take the smaller bedroom upstairs. I'll take the office space and convert it into my temporary bedroom. We'll probably need to stay for 6 months to a year while I get back on my feet and find a job here in Portland." Jennifer stepped forward, her face flushed with anger. "Diana, this is the first we're hearing about any of this. We never agreed to—" "Oh, don't be modest," Diana interrupted with a laugh that sounded forced. "Marcus called me 2 weeks ago and insisted we come stay with you. He said family should stick together during hard times, and with all this space, it only makes sense. Right, Marcus?" Marcus felt every eye in the crowd focused on him. His boss was there, along with new neighbors he was trying to impress, his parents who had driven up from Sacramento, and Jennifer's family. The social pressure was suffocating. If he contradicted Diana publicly, he would look like a liar or, worse, like someone who would abandon his sister and her children in their time of need. "I think there's been some misunderstanding," Marcus said carefully, trying to buy time to think. "Maybe we should discuss this privately." "What's to discuss?" Diana beamed. "You've already been so generous, and I've already given notice on my apartment in Phoenix. The kids are so excited about starting fresh here in Portland. Tyler's been researching schools in the area, and the girls can't wait to have their cousins nearby." Marcus's father stepped forward, his face lighting up with pride. Son, this is exactly the kind of thing your mother and I raised you to do. Family first, always. Diana and those kids need you right now." The trap was perfectly set. Diana had orchestrated this moment with surgical precision, knowing Marcus would never humiliate her in front of everyone. She had backed him into a corner where saying no would make him look heartless and ungrateful for his success. The rest of the housewarming party passed in a blur of forced smiles and congratulations for Marcus's generosity. Guests praised him for being such a caring brother, while Diana basked in the attention, elaborating on her sob story about the divorce and how difficult it had been as a single mother. Marcus felt sick to his stomach, but he couldn't figure out how to escape the web Diana had woven without looking like a complete monster. Jennifer barely spoke for the remainder of the party, giving short, clipped responses when anyone brought up the living arrangement. Marcus could see the fury building behind her eyes, and he knew he was in for the fight of his life once the guests left. Their dream home had been hijacked before they'd even finished unpacking their own boxes. After the last guest departed, Jennifer exploded. "How could you do this to us without even discussing it? This is our home, Marcus. We just spent every penny we had on this house, and now you're giving it away to your sister and her kids." "I never agreed to this," Marcus said, slumping into one of their new dining room chairs. "She completely blindsided me. I had no idea she was planning to announce that." "Then why didn't you correct her? Why did you let her humiliate me in front of everyone?" Jennifer's voice was shaking with rage. "Your parents, my parents, your boss, everyone thinks we planned this together. Do you have any idea how stupid I looked?" Marcus ran his hands through his hair, feeling the walls closing in around him. "What was I supposed to do? Call her a liar in front of 30 people? Make a scene at our own housewarming party?" "Yes, that's exactly what you should have done," Jennifer shot back. "Because now we're stuck. She's already given notice on her apartment, told her kids they're moving, and announced it to everyone we know. If we back out now, we'll look like the worst people in the world." The next morning, Marcus's phone started ringing early. Diana called first, gushing about how excited the kids were and discussing logistics for the move. She had already enrolled Tyler in the local high school and researched daycares for Jake. When Marcus tried to bring up the fact that they had never actually discussed this arrangement, Diana's tone shifted quickly. "Marcus, you can't back out now. I've already put deposits down on the moving truck and given my landlord notice. The kids have said goodbye to their friends. Are you really going to make your own nieces and nephews homeless?" His mother called an hour later, practically in tears with pride. "I'm so proud of you, honey. This is exactly what family should do for each other. Your father and I always worried about Diana after the divorce, but knowing she has you to rely on makes us feel so much better." By noon, Marcus had received calls from 3 different relatives, all praising his generosity and sharing their own stories about family members who had helped them through tough times. The narrative was already set in stone. Marcus was the successful, generous brother who was saving his sister and her children from poverty and homelessness. Jennifer spent the day researching tenant rights and eviction laws, trying to find some legal way to prevent Diana from moving in. But since no money had changed hands and no formal lease existed, their options were limited. They could refuse to let her in, but the social and family consequences would be devastating. The week leading up to Diana's arrival was filled with tense conversations and sleepless nights. Marcus tried calling Diana multiple times to discuss boundaries and expectations, but she either didn't answer or quickly changed the subject to logistics about the move. When he finally reached her, she had an answer for everything. "Of course I'll help with groceries and utilities," she said sweetly. "Once I find a job, I'll contribute whatever I can. And the kids are so well behaved you won't even know we're there. This is just temporary, Marcus. 6 months, maybe a year at most." Jennifer was busy researching the cost of feeding 4 additional people and calculating the impact on their utilities. Their mortgage payment was already stretching their budget thin, and the added expenses would push them into the red. When she presented these numbers to Marcus, the reality of their situation became even more stark. "We can't afford this," Jennifer said, spreading the calculations across their kitchen table. Between the extra food, higher electric and water bills, and the increased wear and tear on the house, we're looking at an additional $2,000 per month, minimum. We don't have that kind of money." Marcus felt trapped between his wife's legitimate concerns and the family pressure that continued to build. His sister-in-law had even called to express her admiration for their sacrifice, and several colleagues had mentioned how inspiring it was to see someone prioritize family over comfort. Diana's moving truck arrived on a Thursday morning, 3 days earlier than expected. Marcus was at work when Jennifer called him, her voice tight with panic. "She's here, and she's brought way more stuff than she said. This isn't a temporary move, Marcus. She's brought furniture, appliances, everything. It looks like she's planning to stay permanently." Marcus left work early to find his driveway blocked by a massive moving truck. Diana was directing 2 movers who were carrying a full-size refrigerator toward his garage. When she saw him, she waved cheerfully as if nothing was wrong. "Surprise! I managed to get the truck a few days early. I thought it would be better to get settled before the weekend," Diana called out. "The kids wanted to start their new schools on Monday, so this works out perfectly." The amount of belongings was staggering. Box after box came off the truck, labeled with Diana's name and each child's name. There were beds, dressers, toys, electronics, and even a dining room set. Marcus watched in horror as his spacious home was systematically filled with his sister's entire life. "Diana, where is all this stuff supposed to go?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "We agreed this was temporary." "Oh, don't worry about that," Diana replied, directing the movers to put her couch in his living room. "I brought my own furniture so you wouldn't have to worry about us using yours. See how thoughtful I am." The children arrived that evening, driven up by Diana's ex-mother-in-law who couldn't wait to escape the chaos. Tyler, the 15-year-old, immediately claimed the basement as his territory and began setting up his gaming equipment. The two middle girls, Madison and Brianna, ages 12 and 10, started arguing over who got which dresser in their shared room. 4-year-old Jake ran through the house, touching everything and leaving sticky fingerprints on Marcus's freshly painted walls. Jennifer locked herself in their bedroom and refused to come out for dinner. Marcus found himself ordering pizza for 7 people, watching his credit card balance climb higher as his dream home transformed into something unrecognizable. The first week of cohabitation was a disaster. Marcus and Jennifer's carefully maintained routines were completely shattered by the chaos of 4 additional people living in their space. The morning bathroom schedule became a nightmare, with 7 people trying to get ready simultaneously. Marcus found himself getting up at 5 in the morning just to shower in peace. Diana had made no effort to control her children's behavior. Tyler stayed up until 3 in the morning playing video games with his friends online, the sound echoing through the house despite Marcus's repeated requests for quiet hours. The younger children treated Marcus's home like a playground, leaving toys everywhere and helping themselves to food from the pantry without asking. The grocery bills were astronomical. Marcus watched in shock as Diana filled 2 shopping carts with name-brand items, organic produce, and expensive snacks for her children. When the total came to over $400, Diana looked at him expectantly. "You don't mind getting this one, do you? I'm still waiting for my unemployment benefits to kick in, and the kids need to eat," she said with that same sweet smile she'd used at the housewarming party. Jennifer had started working longer hours at her job, claiming she had urgent projects that required her attention. Marcus knew she was just avoiding the chaos at home, but he couldn't blame her. Coming home each day felt like walking into a war zone. The breaking point came when Marcus discovered that Diana had been going through their mail. He found her sitting at his kitchen table, opening an envelope addressed to him and Jennifer. "What are you doing?" Marcus demanded, snatching the letter from her hands. "Oh, I was just organizing the mail," Diana said innocently. "There was so much piled up, I thought I'd help sort it out. I hope you don't mind." The letter was from their mortgage company, and Diana had already read it completely. Marcus felt violated and furious, but Diana acted as if she had done them a favor. When he told her never to touch their mail again, she seemed genuinely surprised by his reaction. "I was just trying to help," she said with wounded eyes. "I thought we were all family here." That evening, Marcus tried to have a serious conversation with Diana about boundaries and expectations. He sat her down after the kids were in bed and attempted to establish some ground rules for their living arrangement. "Diana, this isn't working. We need to talk about some changes," Marcus began carefully. "What kind of changes?" Diana asked, immediately defensive. "Well, for starters, the kids need to respect our house rules. Tyler can't be up all night gaming, and everyone needs to clean up after themselves. And we need to discuss your timeline for finding your own place." Diana's expression hardened. "Marcus, are you seriously trying to kick out your own sister and her children? After everything we've been through?" "I'm not kicking you out, I'm just asking for some consideration. This is our home too, and—" "Our home," Diana interrupted. "I thought this was a family home. I thought you wanted to help us get back on our feet. But apparently you're already regretting your generosity." The conversation devolved into Diana crying about how difficult her life had been and how she never expected her own brother to abandon her when she needed him most. Marcus found himself apologizing and promising to be more patient, even though he knew nothing would change. 2 weeks into the arrangement, Marcus discovered that Diana had been telling her children they were staying with Uncle Marcus indefinitely. When he overheard 10-year-old Brianna telling a friend on the phone that they had moved to Portland permanently, he realized Diana had never intended this to be temporary. The financial strain was becoming unbearable. Their utility bills had tripled, the grocery expenses were out of control, and the house was showing signs of wear and tear from the additional occupants. Marcus found crayon marks on his walls, juice stains on his new carpet, and mysterious scratches on his hardwood floors. Jennifer had reached her breaking point. She came home from work to find Diana had rearranged their living room furniture to accommodate her own couch and entertainment center. The room looked like a furniture store showroom, with two of everything and no coherent design. "I can't live like this anymore," Jennifer told Marcus that night. "She's taking over our entire house, and you're letting her do it. Our daughters are starting to act out because their routine is completely disrupted. Emma asked me yesterday if we're poor now because we can't afford our own food anymore." Marcus felt like he was drowning. Every day brought new challenges and expenses he hadn't anticipated. Diana showed no signs of looking for work, spending her days watching television and chatting with friends on the phone, while her children ran wild through the house. When Marcus suggested Diana might want to start job hunting, She had a ready excuse. "I'm waiting for the right opportunity," she said. "I don't want to just take any job. I need something that works with the kids' schedules and pays enough to make it worthwhile." Meanwhile, Diana had begun making changes to the house without permission. She installed a baby gate at the top of the stairs, claiming it was for Jake's safety. She put up curtains in the windows that clashed with Jennifer's carefully chosen decor. She even had a landline installed in her temporary bedroom, giving out Marcus's address as her permanent residence. The final straw came when Marcus received a call from his homeowner's insurance company. They were investigating a claim for water damage in the basement, filed by someone named Diana Collins using his address. When Marcus confronted Diana, she seemed annoyed that he was upset. "There was a small leak in the basement bathroom, and it damaged some of my boxes," Diana explained. "I figured your insurance would cover it since it happened in your house. I was trying to be helpful by handling it myself instead of bothering you." Marcus was horrified. Diana had filed an insurance claim on his policy without his knowledge or permission, potentially affecting his coverage and rates. When he called the insurance company to explain the situation, they informed him that Diana had listed herself as a resident of the property, which could complicate future claims. That night, Marcus lay awake calculating how much money Diana's presence was costing them. Between the increased utilities, groceries, insurance complications, and general wear and tear, they were spending over $3,000 per month on expenses directly related to Diana and her children. At this rate, they would be bankrupt within 6 months. Jennifer had started looking at apartments online, showing Marcus listings for places they could afford if they sold the house. The thought of losing his dream home because of his sister's manipulation made Marcus physically ill, but he was beginning to see no other option. Marcus decided to take a more direct approach. He researched local apartment complexes and job opportunities, then sat down with Diana to discuss a concrete plan for her independence. He had prepared a folder with rental listings, employment websites, and information about assistance programs for single mothers. "Diana, I've put together some resources to help you get back on your feet," Marcus said, spreading the materials across the table. "There are several apartment complexes with availability next month, and I found some job openings that might be a good fit for your background." Diana barely glanced at the papers before pushing them away. "Marcus, I appreciate the thought, but I'm not ready to make any major decisions right now. The kids are just getting settled in their new schools, and I need more time to get oriented in Portland. Moving them again so soon would be traumatic." "But this was supposed to be temporary," Marcus insisted. "You said 6 months to a year, and it's been almost a month already." I know," Diana said with a sigh. But things are more complicated than I expected. Tyler is finally making friends at his new school, and the girls love their teachers. Jake is thriving in his daycare program. I can't just uproot them again when they're doing so well. Marcus felt his frustration building. What about Jennifer and me? What about our lives and our plans for this house? Diana's expression shifted to that familiar wounded look. I thought you cared about your nieces and nephews. I thought family meant something to you. But apparently, your comfort is more important than children having a stable home. The guilt trip was expertly delivered, and Marcus felt his resolve weakening. Diana had always been skilled at manipulating family dynamics, painting herself as the victim while making others feel selfish for having boundaries. Later that week, Marcus discovered Diana had been using his address to apply for government benefits. Mail began arriving addressed to her, including applications for food stamps, housing assistance, and childcare subsidies. When Marcus confronted her, she acted as if this was perfectly normal. I need to use a stable address for my applications, Diana explained. Using your address shows that I have family support, which actually helps my case. You should be happy that I'm trying to become self-sufficient. Marcus realized that Diana was systematically establishing legal residency at his address. Every official document, every government application, every school enrollment form listed his house as her permanent residence. She was creating a paper trail that would make it legally difficult to remove her. The situation escalated when Marcus's neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, knocked on his door with a complaint. Diana's children had been playing in her yard without permission, and Tyler had been caught smoking behind her garage. The elderly woman was clearly uncomfortable with the confrontation, but felt she had no choice. I don't want to cause problems, Mrs. Patterson said quietly, but the children seem to think they can go anywhere they want. Yesterday, I found the little one in my backyard playing with my garden hose, and the teenage boy has been quite rude when I've asked him to stay off my property. Marcus was mortified. He had worked hard to build good relationships with his neighbors, and now Diana's family was causing problems throughout the neighborhood. When he tried to discuss the incident with Diana, she became defensive and accusatory. Kids will be kids, Diana said dismissively. Mrs. Patterson is just a cranky old woman who doesn't like children. Maybe you should worry more about supporting your family instead of kissing up to the neighbors. The problems continued to escalate. Marcus received a call from Tyler's school about multiple incidents involving his nephew. Tyler had been caught vaping in the bathroom, had gotten into a fight with another student, and had been consistently late to his first period class. The school counselor wanted to meet with Diana to discuss Tyler's behavioral issues, but Diana refused to acknowledge there was a problem. Tyler is just adjusting to a new school, Diana insisted when Marcus brought up the school's concerns. He's been through a lot with the divorce and the move. He needs patience and understanding, not punishment. Meanwhile, the younger children were becoming increasingly destructive. Marcus came home to find that Madison and Brianna had used permanent markers to draw on the walls in their shared bedroom. When he showed Diana the damage, she shrugged it off as creativity and suggested he should be proud of their artistic expression. "It's just a bedroom wall," Diana said. "You can always paint over it. Besides, kids need to express themselves, and you wouldn't want to stifle their creativity, would you?" The cost of repairing the damage was adding up quickly. Marcus had to hire professionals to remove the marker stains and repaint the room, another unexpected expense in an already tight budget. Jennifer was furious, pointing out that they had never had these problems with their own well-behaved daughters. Diana's job search appeared to be non-existent. Despite Marcus's repeated offers to help with resume writing and interview preparation, Diana always had an excuse for why she couldn't pursue employment opportunities. She claimed she needed to be available for the children's school schedules, that she was dealing with ongoing divorce proceedings, or that she was suffering from depression related to her recent life changes. "I can't just take any job," Diana would say whenever Marcus brought up employment. "I have 4 children to think about. I need something that pays well enough to support us and has flexible hours. Jobs like that don't grow on trees." Marcus began to suspect that Diana had no intention of ever finding work or moving out. She had created a comfortable situation where all her expenses were covered. Her children were enrolled in good schools, and she had no responsibilities beyond basic childcare. Why would she want to change anything? The breaking point came when Marcus discovered that Diana had been going through his and Jennifer's personal belongings. He found her in their bedroom, looking through Jennifer's jewelry box with the excuse that she was just admiring Jennifer's earrings. "I was thinking maybe I could borrow something for a job interview," Diana said when Marcus caught her. "I don't have any nice jewelry anymore since the divorce, and I want to make a good impression." Marcus was furious. "Diana, you can't go through our personal things without permission. And what job interview? You haven't mentioned any interviews to me." "Well, I have a potential opportunity," Diana said vaguely. "I might hear back from them soon." When Marcus pressed for details, Diana became evasive and eventually admitted there was no actual interview scheduled. She had been fantasizing about potential job opportunities while going through Jennifer's belongings, apparently seeing no problem with her behavior. That evening, Marcus and Jennifer had their most serious conversation yet about the situation. Jennifer was beyond frustrated and was beginning to resent Marcus for allowing Diana to take over their lives. "This has to stop," Jennifer said firmly. She's not looking for work, she's not respecting our boundaries, and she's teaching her children that they can do whatever they want without consequences. Our own daughters are starting to ask why they have to follow rules when their cousins don't. Marcus decided to consult with a lawyer about his options. The attorney explained that since Diana had been living in the house for over a month and had established residency, removing her would require a formal eviction process. The legal fees alone would cost thousands of dollars, and the process could take months to complete. Your sister has been very clever about this, the lawyer observed. By establishing residency, enrolling her children in local schools, and using your address for official purposes, she's created a situation where she has tenant rights even without a lease agreement. The lawyer also warned Marcus about the potential family and social consequences of pursuing eviction. In cases like this, the person being evicted often portrays themselves as the victim of greedy relatives. Your sister could claim you're making her children homeless, which won't look good to your family or community. Marcus left the law office feeling more trapped than ever. The legal route would be expensive, time-consuming, and potentially devastating to his family relationships. But continuing to support Diana indefinitely would bankrupt him and destroy his marriage. When Marcus got home, he found Diana had invited her ex-mother-in-law to stay for the weekend. The elderly woman had set up an air mattress in the living room and was complaining loudly about everything from the temperature to the food. Marcus realized Diana was now treating his house like a hotel where she could host guests without even asking permission. "I should have asked first," Diana said when Marcus pulled her aside. "But Grandma Ruth needed a place to stay for a few days, and I knew you wouldn't mind helping out family." The weekend turned into a nightmare. Grandma Ruth criticized Jennifer's cooking, complained about the children's noise level, and made passive-aggressive comments about Marcus's expensive taste in home decor. She also brought up the family history, reminding everyone how Marcus had always been the selfish one who put his own needs first. "Diana has always been the giving one," Grandma Ruth announced over dinner. "She's sacrificed so much for those children, and it's about time someone in this family stepped up to help her." Marcus felt like he was being attacked in his own home. Every conversation became an opportunity for Diana and her ex-mother-in-law to reinforce the narrative that Marcus was obligated to provide indefinite support, while Diana was the deserving victim who had earned assistance through her suffering. Jennifer finally exploded when Grandma Ruth criticized her parenting style and suggested that Emma and Sophie were spoiled because they had their own bedrooms. "This is our house," Jennifer said firmly. "We've been more than generous, but we won't be insulted in our own home." The confrontation escalated quickly, with Diana jumping to her ex-mother-in-law's defense and accusing Jennifer of being jealous of the attention the children were receiving. The argument ended with Jennifer storming out of the house and driving to her sister's place for the night. Marcus was left to deal with the aftermath, trying to mediate between Diana's wounded feelings and his own wife's justified anger. He realized that his marriage was in serious jeopardy, and he had to choose between appeasing his manipulative sister and protecting his relationship with Jennifer. That night, Marcus made a decision. He would give Diana 30 days to find alternative housing, and if she refused to leave voluntarily, he would pursue legal eviction despite the costs and consequences. He couldn't allow Diana to destroy his marriage and bankrupt his family. Marcus prepared for the most difficult conversation of his life. He waited until Diana's children were at school and she was alone in the house, then sat her down for what he hoped would be a final discussion about her departure timeline. "Diana, I need to be completely honest with you," Marcus began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "This arrangement isn't working for anyone. I'm giving you 30 days to find alternative housing for you and the children." Diana's face went through a range of emotions: surprise, hurt, anger, and finally, cold calculation. 30 days. Marcus, that's completely unrealistic. You can't just throw your own family out on the street. "I'm not throwing you out," Marcus replied. "I'm giving you a reasonable timeline to find your own place. I've been more than generous, but this was supposed to be temporary, and it's been 2 months already." Diana stood up and began packing, her voice rising with each word. "I can't believe you're doing this to us. After everything I've been through, after all the help you promised, you're abandoning your own nieces and nephews. What kind of person are you?" Marcus had anticipated this reaction and steeled himself against Diana's emotional manipulation. "I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm asking you to take responsibility for your own life and your children's futures. You're a capable adult, and you can figure this out. And what if I can't find a place in 30 days? What if there's nothing available that I can afford? Are you really going to make 4 innocent children homeless?" Diana's voice cracked with practiced emotion. "There are plenty of resources available," Marcus said, pulling out the folder he had prepared weeks earlier. "I've researched assistance programs, affordable housing options, and employment opportunities. You just need to start taking action instead of making excuses." Diana's tears dried up quickly as she realized her usual tactics weren't working. Her expression hardened, and Marcus saw a side of his sister he had never seen before: calculating, cold, and genuinely angry at being called out on her manipulation. "Fine," Diana said icily. "But don't expect me to make this easy for you. I'll tell everyone in the family exactly what kind of person you really are. Mom and Dad will be so disappointed when they find out you kicked their grandchildren out of your precious house. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Diana was threatening to destroy his family relationships, but he realized she had probably been planning this all along. She had never intended to leave voluntarily, and now she was showing her true colors. "You can tell them whatever you want," Marcus said quietly, "but I'm not changing my mind. 30 days, Diana, that's final." Diana stormed out of the room, and Marcus could hear her on the phone within minutes, no doubt calling family members to start building her case against him. He knew the next few weeks would be brutal, but he also knew he had no choice if he wanted to save his marriage and his financial future. Jennifer came home that evening to find Marcus sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of wine and a determined expression. When he told her about his ultimatum to Diana, Jennifer actually smiled for the first time in weeks. "Thank God," Jennifer said, sitting down beside him. "I was starting to think you were going to let her live here forever." Diana's revenge campaign began immediately. Within 24 hours of Marcus's ultimatum, his phone was ringing constantly with calls from family members who had heard Diana's version of events. His mother called in tears, begging him to reconsider throwing his sister and her children out on the street. "Marcus, how could you do this to your own family?" his mother sobbed. "Diana told me you gave her less than a month to find a place. She has 4 children, honey. 4 innocent bobbies who need a home." Marcus tried to explain the situation rationally, but Diana had already poisoned the well with her sob story. She had conveniently left out details about her refusal to look for work, her children's destructive behavior, and her manipulation of the housewarming party announcement. His father was even more direct in his criticism. "Son, I raised you to be better than this. A man takes care of his family, especially when they're down on their luck. What Diana is asking for isn't unreasonable." The calls continued throughout the week. Aunts, uncles, cousins, and family friends all reached out to express their disappointment in Marcus's selfishness. Diana had crafted a narrative that painted her as a desperate single mother being abandoned by her wealthy, heartless brother. Diana's behavior in the house became increasingly hostile. She stopped making any effort to control her children's behavior, seemingly encouraging them to be as disruptive as possible. Tyler's gaming sessions became louder and later. The younger children left messes throughout the house, and Diana herself became passive-aggressive in every interaction. When Marcus tried to discuss practical matters like apartment hunting or job applications, Diana either ignored him completely or responded with sarcasm. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was on such a tight deadline," she would say. "I'll just wave my magic wand and make perfect housing appear." Jennifer's stress levels were through the roof. She had started experiencing panic attacks at work, worrying about what new disaster she would find when she got home. Their own daughters were acting out, confused by the tension in the house and the changes to their previously stable routine. Emma asked me yesterday if we're getting divorced, Jennifer told Marcus one evening. She said her cousins told her that's what happens when families fight all the time. Marcus realized that Diana's children were being used as weapons in her campaign against him. They repeated things Diana had said about Uncle Marcus being mean and not caring about family. The poison was spreading to the next generation. 2 weeks into the 30-day countdown, Marcus discovered that Diana had been actively sabotaging his relationships with neighbors and colleagues. Mrs. Patterson mentioned that Diana had told her Marcus was struggling financially and might have to sell the house soon. A colleague at work awkwardly asked if everything was okay at home because someone had called the office claiming to be Marcus's sister and asking about his employment status.